Joining me now, a three-time Pro Bowl safety, co-host of the Grit Code podcast with Patrick Willis and Rod Brooks. Donte Whitner, what a freaking game.
Amazing game for the 49ers. And the funny thing about that last play there, they ran that same play earlier in the fourth quarter on 3rd and 1, and they picked up the first down.
Okay.
Which just shows you the resilience and the grit of the 49ers to stop it in that big moment and come away with the big victory.
They're doing this with these backups, Mac Jones, Alfred Collins, like everyone's stepping up. Who is that? Is it, do you want to give a little love to John Lynch, more to Shanahan? Like, who deserves love this morning after that gritty
You want to
win?
give love to the entire organization because they've really been through a transitional period where they've been losing some guys that you're accustomed to seeing, the Deebo Samuels, the defensive line, the Nick Bosa's, the guys being out with injuries. But when you have a championship organization and you go about your business in a certain way, you're only going to win games. And the 49ers right now are 3-0 in the NFC West. So if they can continue to ride this wave, get some guys healthy, you might see the 49ers deep in the playoffs again this year.
I mean, they're 3-0 with Mac Jones. What do you make of this character? What do you know? Why is it working with what he looks like, his demonstrative behavior on the field, in the tunnel, and then what a baller he is when really it's just Christian McCaffrey out there healthy?
Well, you have to look at his coach, Kyle Shanahan. Look at what he did for Sam Darnold from last year being a backup to Brock Purdy, and now he's having pretty much the most successful early season of his career. Look at what he's doing with Mac Jones. There's certain principles and coaching techniques that certain guys have that a lot of these guys are benefiting from. So when you tell your quarterback that you have complete confidence in him, you show him that, you believe that he's a starter, and you tell him to just go out there and let it fly, that's the ultimate signal to any player, to go out and have success. And then there were some plays out there. You have to give credit to Kyle Shanahan. There were some plays out there where guys were running wide open. We're on a short week. He was able to dissect them like he was on an operating table. So, they have 10 days to rest up. The 49ers right now, second in the NFC. I think they have a lot in front of them.
When you're on an operating table, you can't mess up,
Yeah.
You can't. You'll ruin something. You can't turn the ball over, and Mac Jones isn't doing that. So you're giving a lot of credit to the coach. The coach also coaches Brock Purdy. What is the difference?
The difference is the offensive line was not solidified. When you look at the games where Brock was playing, he was getting consistent pressure in his face, and he had to force some footballs into some tough areas. And even though they won those games, he fought through adversity. So the difference with Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, they're similar in what they can provide for this offense. It's just times where Brock Purdy was pressing. So it's not going to turn into a quarterback controversy. I know what you're thinking. I think that, Mac Jones has shown the rest of the league what he can do and that he's a starting quarterback in the league, but this is Brock Purdy's team to lead.
I'm not thinking it's a quarterback controversy. I just knew that if he performed well against this defensive front last night without skilled weapons and didn't press like Brock is doing.
Well, they had skilled weapons. They had skilled weapons.
Yeah.
When you think about Kendrick Bourne started his career with the San Francisco 49ers. So he identifies with what the 49ers want on offense, and you saw it last night with the precision. And then remember, this is a full circle moment for himself and Mac Jones because they were together in New England.
Yeah.
He was Mac Jones' #1 wide receiver in New England, and it just so happens on a Thursday night football game that they both have career games. So shout out to Kendrick Bourne. They have weapons out there like Jake Tungus, the young rookie that stepped up and had a touchdown early in the first quarter. They have guys that they've developed. You just haven't heard of them yet.
I don't want a quarterback controversy. They have two great quarterbacks, sounds like, in a great system with an insanely brilliant coach who showed everybody I should be the head coach or coach of the year front runner. That's what I think we saw last night, and I think he did it quite easily. I think he could have done it with a blindfold on. It looked just surgical, like kind of what we're saying from the Kyle perspective. What needs to happen? The difference is that Brock's turning the ball over, Donte. How does he minimize that? It sounds like you have no worries about Brock. Why? How do we cut those out?
I have no worries about Brock. I've watched his decision-making for the last 3.5 years, I believe. And even after he has those type of games where he turns the football over, he'll always bounce back and follow up and won't make the same mistakes, which is why they paid him franchise money. And he's dealing with an injury. I don't know how many people out there have actually had a turf toe, but everything goes through the toes. So from him being able to put velocity on the football, from him worrying about that, it probably affected his game. And then when you have consistent pressure in your face and you're forcing balls into coverage, it's only going to be detrimental to the offense. So I have zero worries about Brock and his bounce back capabilities.
I have zero worries about this defense without Bosa for some reason. And it must be SALEH and his ability to somehow overcome and get this type of performance without him. Like, what is he doing so right? If they go and they make this run, and they should, given like everything that's going on, even the injuries, and maybe they'll get healthy at the right time, they won't have Bosa. But SALEH sort of gives me the confidence that this squad can go further than I even expect them to.
Absolutely, and Robert SALEH have done a great job of manufacturing pressure without Nick Bosa, and last night you saw it. A few of those blitzes where he's bringing the weak side safety and he's bringing the weak side linebacker and D. Winters. They had a couple blown coverages in that because they have to check out of that. The outside guy has to take that back to the flat, but for the majority of the time, they're solid and they play fundamentally sound. They rely on basics. They rely on their teaching, and then they're led by, one of the greatest linebackers, if not the greatest, he's becoming in Fred Warner. His ability to lead no matter who is on the field and, play at a high level consistently. For him to be in his 9th year and to have only missed one game and consistently get better and to finally pass Patrick Willis for the forced fumble record for the 49ers history, he's just accelerating this defense. And when he's out there, they all believe. So if they continue to work, they have a bunch of young rookies that they're working in. If they continue to get better and better, I have no doubts that this defense can end up, finishing the season top 5 ranked.
On the Grit Code podcast, what will Patrick think of that if that happens, if he passes him up?
Well, we did talk about that yesterday when we recorded. He did pass him up.
Oh, he did?
I think they were both tied for 17 forced fumbles, and they do it in a different way.
Okay.
Patrick was more of an impact hitter and knocked the ball out. Fred Warner is more of a mechanic. And on the podcast, Pat talks about, having boxing lessons with Fred Warner in the offseason.
Awesome.
And how he actually practices that to punch the football out, and it just translates to the game. And then we talk about mastery. Anything that you want to do, you have to have 10,000 reps at it to become a master, and that's what Fred Warner is doing, which is why he's going to eventually end up in the Hall of Fame.
Is there something that you guys talk about that you're worried about with the Niners? No injuries.
The run game. And it even showed up last night. Christian McCaffrey is only averaging 3.3 yards per carry, but then when I analyzed the film, they're missing Deebo Samuel. They don't have another offensive weapon who can create hesitancy in the backside defenders in the open field to really stop those defenders from, pinning their ears back and just playing front side gaps. And then it doesn't help the offensive line as well with positional blocking because everybody's playing so fast, and this is a zone scheme. So until they find another player like Deebo Samuel that they can develop, they'll probably continue to have these issues in the run game. When you think about the things that and the value that Deebo Samuel provided, it wasn't just running the ball, catching it, bubble screens. It was sometimes the defense, the backside 3 or 4 defenders have to slow down because he was such a weapon with the ball in his hands, and he was such a great runner with the ability to run after the catch. So I think they're going to continue to have issues in the run game until they find a diversion or something that can create hesitancy in the defense backside.
They're 29th in rushing right now, to your point. Definitely not effective. Did see it creep up, and then that last drive they didn't even go for it, which I love to see. And Christian McCaffrey's having an identity crisis. New dad, he's now a receiver. That's what he's doing, and I love to see it. And I'm super happy for this Niners squad. Should we take a victory lap on your Chargers, my friend? Let's go. You Chargers, Jim. It's unbelievable. They've got this game against the Commanders. It's on Sunday. It's in L.A. as well. When you think about just even that matchup, where does your head go?
I think there's going to be a phenomenal game, but knowing Coach HARBAUGH coming off a loss, I know that he's going to have these guys ultra prepared. And when I look at that team, they had a setback last week to Jackson Dart and the New York Giants. But when you look at the way that they're built to go far into the playoffs. And with the Kansas City Chiefs having these hiccups, yeah, they beat up on the beat up Baltimore Ravens last week, but I don't really believe that they have that championship magic. I believe that the Chargers are, one of the league contenders in the AFC right now, along with the Buffalo Bills. Justin Herbert, remember that first game against the Kansas City Chiefs this year? I wish I would have talked to you after that. He
I thought
showed
of
that
you.
he was,
I'll be so honest. I thought of you. Yeah.
you should have.
Yeah.
You should have. And he looked phenomenal, didn't
Yeah.
he? He looked like an MVP candidate. He made all the right decisions. You saw the big arm. You saw the ability to
I
run.
saw him finish.
You saw him finish. And then they drafted Omarion Hampton, who's can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a home run threat. He's a bigger back that can run in between the tackles. And then they have Quentin Johnson on the outside. So they have intermediate with Allen receiving the ball. They have Quentin Johnson on the outside. And then the defense is, I believe, #1 in the NFL.
They're 2.5
Led
point.
by Derwin James and
Yes.
a lot of those guys. So one more thing.
No, of course.
It'll be the Buffalo Bills and the Chargers in the AFC Championship this year.
Why?
Because they're led by guys that have aura. Not just the stats on the field, not just their team believing in them. They have aura. They believe that they're going to get it done. So with Josh Allen and Herbert, that the MVP will probably come down to those two guys, in my opinion. Towards the end of the season, you'll see that these two guys have phenomenal seasons and they're ready to lead their teams to the next level and get championships under their belt. So I believe it'll bubble down to the Buffalo Bills and the Chargers.
A lot of quarterbacks have aura. Why these two? Why is that so important with these two? Patrick Mahomes has aura.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts has aura as well. So on any given day, one of these guys can beat you. They can put up 400 yards. They can actually run the football. Their leadership. In the moment, they get the job done. And, when you have leadership like they all have, from the McDermotts to the Harbaughs, it only perpetuates what they can accomplish on the field. And they all have running games. And they all have defensive-minded coaches. So the aura will spread to the rest of the team. And that's what the championship quarterbacks do. So there's 4 or 5 guys in the league right now with that aura
Who you
on
got?
any given year.
I want to hear. I mean, Jackson Dart has that and just beat your Justin
not
Herbert.
yet. No, this week will be different for Jackson Dart. They didn't know what to expect from Jackson Dart. If you really looked at him passing the football, it really wasn't that impressive. It was more so running around, and there will be a defender out there that he doesn't want to take a hit from. So you just hope that he stays healthy after that. So I don't truly believe in him.
Donte, I literally love talking to you. I don't truly. He doesn't want to get hit. That's what you're saying.
You don't want him to get hit.
Who do they have?
And, you can do that for 1 week, but for the majority of the season, that'll get you knocked out of a game.
Giants have the Saints this week.
Yeah, they'll beat up on the Saints. The Saints are dismal. They're trying to figure it out. But when I look at the top 5 quarterbacks with aura, you have to start with Jalen Hurts.
Okay, let's look at the AFC odds. Can we look at the AFC odds? Do we have those back there? Sorry to interrupt you, Donte. I want to take a look so we can see what we're looking at here as far as how aura plays into these rankings. And these quarterbacks, which really, like Justin's, has been at least upped, if not unleashed, by his quarterback. Okay, so here's the both conferences here. As far as aura, who you got?
My #1 is Jalen Hurts. When you look at that team and you see the way that they're winning, I know A.J. Brown, he pouted last week, and they don't really have it all down. But in the moment, what matters is execution in the moment, winning football games, doing whatever it takes to win a game. And he was prepped from this, from everything that happened in college, from the adversity and the circumstances that he had to fight through. He's the heart and soul of that team. And then I look at Josh Allen. He has that city of Buffalo on his back. Even watching the Netflix documentary on the Buffalo Bills and HBO, you can see that he has the ability to cover up for a lot of holes that the Buffalo Bills have, and he's a junkyard dog. He's a guy that just really loves football, and it doesn't matter what it takes, he's going to get the job done, so you can never count him out. And that goes the same for Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes right now, they're struggling, but whenever you have a guy that is willing to not alone, put the team on his back, but he's willing to take chances and risk that most quarterbacks in NFL history just won't take. And then I've watched him, bring his team back from the jaws of defeat in the Super Bowl against the 49ers live and up front. So I'll never count him out. Justin Herbert, I'm putting him on there. He had to hear for many years about he doesn't get it done in the big moments. Well, week one, nobody thought that he would beat the Kansas City Chiefs and in the manner that he did. And, you know, he did it. And he has his teams at 3-1 right now. He has Harbaugh. I have all the utmost confidence in any type of Harbaugh-led team. My number 5.
I'm making my list too. Hold on. Go, keep going.
My number 5 is Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
That Baltimore Ravens team is nothing without him. And it was a combination in previous years of Lamar Jackson, his ability to flow and make plays easily with his arms and his legs, and that defense being dominant. The Baltimore Ravens doesn't have a dominant defense this year. They're a shell of their former self. They're dealing with injuries. And when you take Lamar Jackson off their team, they're a below average football team, which shows you how much pressure he actually deals with. He deals with a lot of pressure. So I will put Lamar Jackson on there, and we can move these guys around however you want.
I got you.
But that's my top 5. I'm
going to go, no one has more than Baker.
I agree with you. I'm actually becoming a Baker Mayfield fan.
Yes. So like I have everyone you have. You got me on Jalen is amazing. So I have Baker, Jalen, Mahomes, Allen, Jaden.
I like that.
I need Herbert in there.
I don't know if I would take off. Who did you take off to add Baker?
Herbert.
I'm not taking. No, I have to go with Herbert. But you know, that's an option that we can discuss. We can agree to disagree, or we can agree to agree.
I somehow always find myself like talking Herbert down, and I'm not. I love him. I do think it has so much to do. I mean, I meant the finishing, the slide. You're right. He needs to be in the top 5. That slide week 1, I was like 5 feet away from it. Like, oh my God. It matters. Amazing. It matters. Next time you're on, I need your bottom 5.
My bottom 5?
Yeah, I need your bottom 5.
Well, I can tell you who my 32nd quarterback in the league is right now.
Okay.
It's the little kid in Carolina, Bryce.
Donte.
He's awful.
Bryce Young is awful?
He's awful.
Or without aura?
And I think that when you compare small quarterbacks, he doesn't have the ability to do the things that the quarterback in Arizona has. Kyler Murray.
Ceiling, yeah.
Yeah, he's more of a traditional. You would think that he would be a 6'5", 235-pound drop-back quarterback.
You can't call him a kid, Donte.
He's a kid. I'm 40 years old. He's probably, what, 24, 25? He's a kid for sure. But
he's 24, they're saying.
You would think with his stature that he would be more of a speedy guy, get outside the pocket, but in college he was a drop-back guy, and that's not translating to the NFL well. And if you ever played quarterback, I played quarterback in Little League, if guys are taller than you and you're in that pocket, you can't really see. And then you have defenders moving around, so I think that's why he's struggling. And, you know, he can't really correct his stature, his height, his weight, but I don't really see him having success in the National Football League.
You always keep it very real. 32nd quarterback of all the starters. Like, so Mac Jones is a big, Mac Jones deserves to be a starter, it sounds like, even though you like
Mac Jones sounded like he's creeping up in the top 15. A lot of the quarterback play around the National Football League hasn't been.
So is Brock Brock's top 10?
Brock, when he's on his game, I put Brock somewhere around 12.
And Mac, who's a backup, is better than half of the league.
Better than half the league, and he showed that, especially last night versus the LA Rams.
Is he better than Caleb Williams?
He's better than Caleb Williams.
Better than Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones is playing phenomenal right now. I think that getting out of New York, getting a new philosophy, he's really showing me some things that I didn't really believe that he had. So we'll leave that alone until later in the season.
Better than Bo Nix?
Bo Nix played well last week.
Okay.
I like a lot of velocity and accuracy he showed last week. So Bo Nix is moving and trending up, in my opinion.
I do want to get back. We got a beautiful tangent. I really quite enjoyed that, and I like that you like Baker. And I feel like that's like that could have gone either way though with you, Whitner. I can't figure you out because I know why you don't like Jackson. You just got me thinking. Actually, they might take care of the Saints, but the Saints watching him dance and be like the happiest little rookie. Cam Jordan might just teach him a lesson this weekend, right? That works on a defense a little bit, right?
He might, but it's any given weekend in the National Football League. So the guys that really focus and they come out prepared and not really shaky or nervous, those are the guys that are probably going to play, the best. So, we can say all of those different things, but it's really any given weekend in the National Football League. These are professionals, and, certain things happen. Injuries happen, luck plays happen. So this is why we tune in.
Harbaugh, by the way, you're talking about after a loss. I'd like, sorry to put you on the spot, but you're unbelievable. So do you have a story or something that can explain what happens after Jim Harbaugh loses? Because to your point, in the next game after a loss, he has won 13 times in his coaching career. You and Harbaugh lost back-to-back games together only twice in 3 seasons in San Francisco. What is going on?
Well, he really hones in on the details, and it's almost like sanitizing the entire building. You get back to basics. You watch that film, and you're actually... There's a lot of players around the league, when they play bad, they're afraid to watch the game in front of their peers because it's sort of an embarrassment. Well, they take that stigma out of it, and we address everything, like every individual that did anything wrong, from a step to your eyes, to a missed tackle, to a dropped interception, to any little minute detail, we go over it. And then throughout the week, we're going to rep the things that we did not, accomplish well. We're going to rep those things until you get tired of repping them. And then when you get in the film room, you're not just going to watch the film and go home. You're going to take very detailed notes, and then you're going to have a thick syllabus that you have to return back to your coach, probably about 20 pages thick, where you have to actually draw your responsibility on there. You have to match coverages, almost like being in 3rd grade again, to where that next game, the mistakes that you made previously, you won't make again. So that's what Jim Harbaugh does well. He's good at regrouping the guys, getting a singular focus, and then going out and executing the game, playing at a high level. And he gets the guys to believe. And if you play a physical style of football, you can win on any given weekend.
Baltimore, you mentioned Lamar, Aura, he's in your top 5. They're banged up right now. They do still have Derrick Henry.
They're done. They're done.
Done?
And it's not just strictly on Lamar Jackson. When you watch their receivers, they're not separating at a high level. Even Zay Flowers, who's one of the quickest, fastest receivers in the league. They're missing Isaiah Likely, who opened up a lot in the middle of the field. Their offensive line is not playing as physical in the run game and protecting Lamar Jackson, which is why you see him actually trying to make things happen and create things that aren't really natural. Their defense is just so banged up, and they were getting older. They lost some guys to free agency. They lost their best defensive lineman to a neck injury. Roquan Smith wasn't playing well, and then he went out with an injury.
Yeah.
The only player back there that's really playing well still is Kyle Hamilton. They're a shell of their former selves.
He's hurt, too.
They don't play with discipline, angles to the football. They don't tackle well. They're not getting turnovers. So everything that can go wrong for the Baltimore Ravens is going wrong, and I really believe that even this early in the season, their season is over.
I mean, if you look at the Super Bowl odds here, Vegas doesn't think so. They're saying we should be patient with them. They have better odds to win than the Rams, Chargers, and Bucks. The Chargers being below the Ravens right now does seem a little weird.
This is why it's probability. This is why you bet. And right now, if I'm a betting man, I'm not betting on the Baltimore Ravens to, regroup, rebound, because there's not just the injuries, it's the style of play. And they have to get back to their style of play, which is physical in the trenches, get after the quarterback, tackle well, and be turnover-driven on defense, and not turn it over on offense. These aren't just things that you can just fix overnight. And by the time they do fix it up and guys get healthy, they'll probably be fighting for one of those final spots in the playoffs, and I don't know if they have enough to really overcome it.
We're going to take a TV break. We're hanging out with Donte Whitner. I'm going to ask you, you mentioned Jalen. Let's take a TV break. This is why you should subscribe to the YouTube. A.J. Brown. There's trade rumors, which seems insane to me, and maybe there's nothing to that. It would be very nutty. What should they do with him? Or is there anything to do?
Well, first and foremost, let me say this about A.J. Brown. I believe that he's a Hall of Fame caliber player. He's one of those guys that I look at like a Calvin Johnson, big, fast, strong, reliable #1 receiver. But I feel like he's a walking contradiction. And I say a walking contradiction because you ever see those intentional things that he plant in front of the media? Like he'll drive a Honda to the car. You're like, oh, he's financially healthy and financially literate. He makes good decisions. He's so mature. And then he'll get on the podcast and he'll talk about, oh, other guys in the NFL, they have sex addiction. I don't really have those things. And then he'll read the book on the sideline. All of these things are signaling maturity. But then you get 9 targets in the game and you only come down with 2 of them for 7 yards, but you're 4-0, you win a game, you're coming off a Super Bowl, you're highly paid, and the first thing you do is run to social media showing your immaturity. It's not about, how you perform and what you're trying to play in front of the media and the narratives that you're trying to create. It's about how do you respond when adversity strikes. So I would say my advice to him would be more Jalen-like. When I look at Jalen Hurts, I really feel like he's a 40-year-old, mature man that can lead that team to a dynasty. So everybody else has to be on board. And I know this is a stats-driven league, and everybody's worried about the stats and getting paid, but A.J. Brown, you don't think the organizations around the National Football League and players and your peers and colleagues know what you provide on the field? So if he goes out and you create a dynasty and you win 2-3 championships, you can demand whatever you want in the market, and it sets you up properly for retirement. So that would be my advice right there. So when it comes to A.J. Brown, I do think that is a lot of the trade stuff is warranted. They're not winning primarily with him. And if you want to cause dysfunction in the locker room and show the organization that you're ungrateful and you're selfish because you didn't get your yards and we won the game, then you probably shouldn't be here because this can become a problem later in the season.
But then I look at it and it's like the Eagles are 4-0. What problem is it causing later in the season? They're winning despite these little Easter eggs or whatever, these signals of maturity that you're saying.
But they haven't won in a way to where it signals, okay, we're on our way to our second consecutive championship. They've just been getting by in the way that they won. They had to find a different variety of ways to win. Sometimes it's Saquon Barkley, sometimes it's Goddard, sometimes it's the defensive line and the Georgia Bulldog guys. Sometimes it's the cornerbacks and the defensive back stepping up. It's a great game plan from Vic Fangio. It's not just drop back 50 times and throw the ball to Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. We have other ways to win, and that's what a championship organization does. It finds a way to win, and it builds dynasties.
It's that big of a concern, you think, whatever this might...
I think so.
It's
because
hard for
a
me
lot
to
of those close
understand
games, if they don't pull those close games out, if they don't pull those close games out and you go on a streak of losing 2-3 in a row and he doesn't get his catches or his yards, this can become detrimental.
Now
so
I understand.
You really want to nip it in the bud now.
But I will say this, like, it's hard for me to imagine, when I think of, like, who's going to win a Super Bowl, it starts at the top. Who has the culture to do it, right? I do like the Bucks for that reason. They've done it. I like how they run shit up there. I like that. I like the Niners. You look at those, like, that's kind of, like, I start top to bottom, and there's no team better than the Eagles with that, right? Like, if it can't work there, what team's going to inherit? Like, you mentioned Jalen right away. Jalen's like the perfect quarterback for somebody who might want the ball, right? He can handle it. Nothing puts him off kilter. He's water. He's not going to get affected by any chirping or book, right? Like, so it's almost like, is it wrong to think like that? No, Philly's the perfect place for AJ. Where else could AJ thrive? AJ be, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, what other team?
Well, there's a bunch of other teams in the league that aren't winning games that would love to have him out there and throw him the ball 15 times a game.
Where should he go?
He doesn't want to be in that situation like he was in Tennessee. You don't want to be back in that situation. You want to be playing meaningful games on Thursday, Sundays, and Mondays. And you're not going to get that if you're not with the Philadelphia Eagles. So they can nip it in the bud right now.
Where should he go? What's a
Well,
team
he
you
should
could
go.
see?
I could see him going to the New England Patriots. They like to pick up other people's misfits. They like to pick them up, especially at the wide receiver position. Remember, not calling him a misfit, but Randy Moss has so many different perspectives about him out
But that
there,
was Bill.
and he did. He went there with Bill, but they sent him there to correct his behavior. But then once Bill left, they sent guys there. That's why Kendrick Bourne had to get out of there. That's why Kendrick Bourne had a career record night last night, because he intentionally wanted to get out of the New England Patriots organization. And you saw what he did last night.
So
And
Stephon Diggs
so
and
think
A.J.
about it.
Brown catching the ball from Drake
look,
May.
Antonio
You've got
Brown
it.
went to the New England Patriots. What happened when Antonio Brown went there?
So you think that, I mean, him to New England would be wild. That would be wild.
Yeah, it would be wild. It would teach him a lesson. So you really want to get the message now so that you can create a dynasty.
I love that. One last one for you. Your Buckeyes had so much turnover this season. By the way, they're a little Baker. I'm proud of you with the Baker objective take because of that. But your Buckeyes are the favorites to repeat as national champions. Let's go plus 500. Why will they repeat this week? And they've got Minnesota this week.
We have the most dominant defense in college football right now. And when you look at all levels of the defense, you have first-round picks. We're only giving up 6.5 points a game. And when you think about what the offense provides, they have a young quarterback that they're keeping things simple for. And it's just, again, I'm going to use that word, it's aura. I was talking to a good friend the other day who son plays for Grambling, and they had to go to Ohio State this year, and we ended up beating them like 73-0. And the players, when they reported back to their parents and everybody, they're like, man, we couldn't even catch our breath until after the first quarter. It's so overwhelming. And yeah, just the dominant defense, only giving up 6.5 points a game, not turning the ball over on offense, and then having the best offensive threat in the nation on the outside and 4. That's why we're going to repeat as national champions this year.
Donte, I got 2 texts while we're in this interview. One of them says, I think he's my favorite analyst. And the other said, he's so freaking good. Like, you are so amazing to talk to. I appreciate your time. I'm so excited that you get to chop it up with your boys, your former teammates. That must be so fun. It is the Grit Code Podcast. Patrick Willis, Rod Brooks. It's on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Congrats on that, and thank you. And I'll see you at the Super Bowl.
Thanks for having me.
In the Bay! Chargers, Bills. Interesting. All right. Thank you, Donte.
Thank you.
Bye.